Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning's by David Basil.
Good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests. Before the invocation, I'm certain we all extend our thoughts and hopes for benevolent protection to the folks down south in the eye of Hurricane Idalia. Today's invocation was first provided by a Rotarian that many of us have been blessed to know as a friend. And when I asked Jimmy Sutphin for a copy, he happily sent it along with clippings, cartoons, and a couple of photographs. Please join me. Love is friendship that has caught fire. It is quiet understanding, mutual confidence, sharing, and forgiving. It is loyalty through good times and bad. It settles for less than perfection and makes allowances for human weakness. Love is content with the present. It hopes for the future, and it doesn't brood over the past. It's the day in and day out chronicles of irritations, problems, compromises, small disappointments, big victories, and common goals. If you have love in your life, it can make up for a great many things you lack. If you don't have it, no matter what else there is, it's not enough. And the people said, amen.
Thank you, David. And lead us in the pledge and four-way test, Philip Budo.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. First. Second. Third. And fourth.
And Chris is not here, so we will not be singing. And our president is here, Terry Bortnick.
Ready for golf? Yeah, that's where I'm headed after I leave you guys. Had a little mishap with my alarm clock this morning, so I'm sorry. Good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone. Okay, we have a couple bits of business. We have our Pours to Pints at the Green Valley Brewing Company. It's the new one down on Milford on September 21st. So if anybody can get down there, a lovely evening goes toward the polio foundation. So, or not foundation, but toward remediating polio. On September 30th, we had gotten a request from the Susan G. Komen Foundation. They are having a More Than Pink walk that is going to be hosted at the Joanne Fabric headquarters there on 91 South 91. If anyone is interested, they're looking for help with setup, people to walk, help with selling items that are there and helping with the entire walk. So if anybody's interested in the Susan G. Komen, which is fighting breast cancer, I think everybody's aware of what that foundation is. And they are, again, on September 30th, looking for help. So I don't know, maybe we could get a group together that would represent Rotary and, you know, give us a little bit of a face up there. We can talk about that a little further, maybe. Well, if we wait until our board meeting, why don't we, next week, I'll bring a sign-up sheet. And anybody who's interested can sign up then. But keep it in your mind. So it's something that would probably be a good representation for us. Today is the last day to make donations for the emergency safety buckets. Where are we on that, Marilyn? No idea. Okay, I'm just going to go out there and say we probably still have a few that need to be paid for. So if anybody has anybody that they know that's planning on making a donation, or if you yourself were planning on making a donation, today's the day. Okay. I think that's it for business. Oh, I'm sorry, Andy.
For those of you who were there on Saturday the 19th, you already know about this, but I did want to bring to the attention of our club that Casey Weinstein had prepared a wonderful whatever it's called, proclamation. Thank you kindly. I was just going to say piece of paper, but anyway, a very pretty piece of paper too, by that way. And so I just wanted to read part of it to the club for those of you who were not there, that said, on behalf of the members of the House of Representatives of the 135th General Assembly of Ohio, we are pleased to commend the, in capital letters, Rotary Club of Hudson on the dedication of its newly restored historic log cabin, August 19th, 2023. And then it goes on to say, a unique structure built in conjunction with the Boy Scouts of America in 1931, the Hudson Log Cabin has provided a weekly meeting place for Troop 321, as well as a central location for the spring flower and winter Christmas tree sales, Santa on the Green, Hudson's World War I Memorial, and its dedication provides a fitting occasion to acknowledge the exceptional work done by the Rotary Club of Hudson to renovate this historic landmark. Indeed, these admirable efforts will help to ensure the log cabin continues to serve the residents of Hudson for the next century to come, and the group's impressive contribution to the community readily explain why it is so widely held in high esteem. All those associated with the Rotary Club of Hudson are to be applauded for their foresight, dedication, and selfless donations of time, energy, and ability far beyond what was required or expected. These fine people, I'm not sure who they're talking about, have gained the appreciation and admiration of all those they have served and have set an example of concerned and responsible citizenship worthy of emulation. Indeed, they are worthy of the highest praise. So thus, with great satisfaction, we congratulate the Rotary Club of Hudson on this special occasion and pay tribute to one of Ohio's finest civic organizations. Wow. Isn't that impressive? So.
Should we have this? Yeah, maybe have it framed and hang it in the Boy Scout cabin. I mean, that's very nice. All right, I'll take care of that. We'll talk about that at the next board meeting, and we'll get that framed and get that hung up there. Okay. All right. Any other business? Go ahead, Rich.
Amy is on. The only thing I wanted to mention, Marilyn and I were chatting before the meeting that, and Patrick's not here today, but we're going to try to start the fall fundraiser 2 weeks earlier this year. So probably, what do you think, Marilyn? Beginning of October, somewhere around there, first or second week in October, because we cut short the school last year on their ability to go out and get us additional funds. So we want to jump on it this year. So I'm just letting everybody know it's forthcoming.
Okay. Thank you, Rich. Mimi? That's okay. Flowers, popcorn.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to remind people that on September 6th, from 7 to 9 in the media room at the high school will be the next climate action roundtable. And we're going to be hearing updates from the school system and from the Environmental Awareness Committee, along with other people that have been working on issues about Hudson's status. And I will mention that we had 12 verified tornadoes in 1 hour and 29 minutes last Thursday night. And that's not our usual historic pattern. So we need a plan to move forward.
Thank you, Mimi. Okay. All right. At this time, then, I will pass this over to Mr. Basil to introduce our guests today.
Thank you, President Terry, and good morning again, fellow Rotarians and guests. I'm Dave Basil, and it's my pleasure this morning to begin the presentation of candidates who will appear on the ballot for local elected offices in the election this November. We offer these sessions as a service to our fellow citizens so that they might learn about those who are seeking to represent them in elected office. We are beginning now in light of the everlasting trend, it seems, toward early voting. Today, we will hear from candidates for Ward 1 on Hudson City Council. Those candidates are Patricia Getz, Dr. Patricia Getz, and Mr. Todd Zedek. I will briefly introduce each candidate, who will then have 5 minutes for prepared remarks to discuss their qualifications and to share their views on issues. Following the candidates' prepared remarks, there will be an opportunity for questions from members and guests. Those present in the room should use the central mic near the front, and those watching via Zoom can send in a question via chat. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to a question. And in order to facilitate as many questions as possible, please keep questions short and to the point. Questions generally should be presented in 20 to 30 seconds. Again, these are questions, not speeches. We will circle back as time allows for follow-up questions after everyone who wants to ask a question has had an opportunity to do so. The last question will be taken around 8:20. Out of respect, please do not applaud individual comments or responses. We will all have an opportunity to express our joint appreciation with a round of applause at the conclusion of the session. The first candidate from whom we will hear today is Mr. Todd Zedek. Todd moved to Hudson when he was 2 and attended Hudson Public Schools, graduating in 1981 from Hudson High, where he earned 7 letters in track and cross country. Todd attended college in Massachusetts and has lived in Detroit, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. He returned to Hudson 17 years ago to raise his children. Professionally, he works in the IT space as a project manager. During the pandemic, he founded Hudson OH Helps, a charity dedicated to fostering and connecting neighbor to neighbor. He has coached his children's youth baseball and soccer teams, is a ski instructor, and referees soccer games. Todd is an active member of the First Congregational Church at Hudson, a member of the Hudson-Lawnsberg Sister City Committee, and currently serves on Hudson's current 10-year Comprehensive Plan Committee. Please join me in giving a Rotary welcome to Todd Zedek.
Rotarians, thank you for inviting me to speak with you this morning. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to share my vision of Hudson's future. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your leadership and efforts on the rehab of the Boy Scout cabin. That was where I attended Boy Scout meetings as a kid, and it's wonderful that the building has been preserved for future generations. So thank you very much. Speaking of the future, my most recent and important point of civic engagement is my time on the 10-year comprehensive plan steering committee. In that group of citizens representing various ages and locations throughout the city, about 19 people, we are crafting a plan that will be the guiding document for future activities in Hudson, both traditional development and other types of efforts. We took a very different approach this time. We reached out to the community and crafted a survey centered around values. Why do you live here? Why did you move here? If you like one aspect of city life more than another, how much more do you like it? In this way, we can create a weighted, rank-ordered, statistically valid picture of what people value about our city. Not what do you like? Do you want senior housing, a rec center, a pool? These are entirely the wrong questions. Humans are capable of holding two wildly divergent views at the same time. I don't look the way I did in high school. I'd love to do that again. And I also really like the not-so fries at yours truly. So, of course, I like both things at the same time. And that's why we can't ask, what do you want? Because people don't understand the ramifications of what they want. And on one day they want one thing and they want something else that runs counter to it. And that's why we have to focus on what do you value. Nobody argues with another person about what they value. Why did you move here? Why do you live here? Why don't you leave? When someone comes to visit, where do you take them? And why? And then we have to have a plan that encourages everything to be weighted against those values. We want to do more of what people really value. And we need to do less of what people don't. So a survey was mailed out to over 400 homes, specifically targeted from a demographic point of view. And then we had an online survey as well. So whoever applied, filled out the survey, their results were calculated as well. It's my intention as a member of City Council to ensure that that plan is implemented and inculcated and made part of the way the city operates. Every major decision needs to be driven by that plan, and there should be nothing done that isn't part of the calculus against that plan. Thank you. We need to stop asking developers what they think we should do, because I can guarantee you they will want to develop. If you ask pool builders what they think we should do, they will say, you should build a pool. 100% guaranteed that's what's going to happen. So we need to drive that activity. I only have a few seconds left. I wanted to talk for a moment about civility and nonpartisanship. I think they're completely related. I think that national politics, national parties have no role in local elections. I am running because I love this town, because this is my home. I have no other agenda. I have no other office I have ever sought nor will seek. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to earning your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zedek. We will next hear from Dr. Patricia Getz. Dr. Getz grew up in the Toledo area, attended Seton Hill College in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and then the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. After living in Pittsburgh, she and her husband Gregory and 3 daughters moved to Shaker Heights. They lived there for 17 years and then moved to Hudson in 2005. Her daughter Emily and son-in-law and their 3 children also live in Hudson. Dr. Getz chose a career in child and adolescent psychiatry and has worked in the public mental health area as Chief Clinical Officer of the Stark County Mental Health Board and as a consultant to the Ohio Department of Mental Health Office of Children's Services. She was also the first woman to be president of the medical staff of Laurelwood Hospital. She consults with the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Recovery Services Center of Excellence for Children's Services at Case Western Reserve University and has been an assistant professor of child and adolescent psychiatry at CDIT Case for over 30 years. Her volunteer activities include medical missionary work in Honduras, service on the board of Montana de Luz, a center for children with HIV in Honduras, the Portage County Mental Health Board, and the Hudson Coalition for Children's Mental Health. Dr. Getz has also played clarinet in the Western Reserve Community Band for 9 years, is a member of the Rotary Club of Hudson, and is on the Regional Committee for the Gift of Life. Please join me in giving a Rotary welcome to Dr. Patricia Getz.
Well, people ask me, why are you doing this again, Patricia? And I tell them I'm doing this because I want to make a difference in our community. So I'm telling you that I, Patricia Getz, am running for City Council in Ward 1. You know, leadership matters. And to be a good leader, you need to prepare, you need to overcome adversity, and you need to problem solve. A few years ago, I took a biking trip where I went around Lake Superior, which was 1,425 miles with a tour group. And on that trip, before I went, I had to prepare. And I did that by going up and down the hills in Cuyahoga Valley National Park so that I was prepared. It's important that as a leader that you do prepare. And I've done that, preparing for my civic duty by being on the Department of Mental Health as a consultant, by being working for the county. And so all these things have given me leadership experiences that I can use as a council person in Hudson. The second area that you have to look at is how to overcome adversity. When I was on my bike trip, the headset broke. And the headset is what you need to have to steer the bike. So I was in a pickle. And also it was a very rainy and cold environment. And so I needed to overcome that adversity. So in my personal life, I've had a lot of adversity that many of you know about. My mother died when I was young. I spent a year in an orphanage. As an adult, I have a severely developmentally handicapped daughter. I have a daughter that died at age 21. And then 15 years ago, my husband died of ALS. These were terrible traumas. But in retrospect, it helped me become tough, resilient, and empathic. And these kinds of things I can bring to Hudson. In my professional career, it's not always been easy to be a woman in medicine. And so that's been something that I've had to overcome. I've been blessed, though, as Mr. Basil said, that my daughter lives here in Hudson. She's an incredible attorney, and my 3 grandkids. And they are the reason that I'm running for city council. The third area you have to look at is how to problem solve. On my bike trip, I couldn't ride my bike, but fortunately the tour leader was my height and she let me use her bike until we got to the bike shop 3 days later. I also had the foresight to bring really good rain gear, so I stayed nice and toasty on that trip. Hudson has many wonderful things, wonderful parks, wonderful people. a terrific downtown, but we do have problems that we need to look at. One problem we need to look at is how to help our senior citizens with their loneliness. And we can do that by supporting a senior citizen center. We also need to prevent the exodus of our seniors who provide so many hours of volunteer work here in Hudson. And we can do that by providing more empty nester housing. Phase 2 remains empty. That would be a good spot for empty nester housing. And in case you didn't know, we are spending almost $700,000 on interest-only payments on that property that we will not get back. And currently, there is no plans for that area as far as I know. The second area that we need to look at is improving our broadband. Citizens tell me they want that. So I suggest that we either expand velocity or perhaps get in work with a group called Lit Communities out of Medina that would make a public-private entity that would provide internet for everyone. The third area is the problems that we are having with our environment. We need to look at that in Hudson. And the best way to look at that is to develop a plan, a climate action plan. And the start of that is to develop a greenhouse gas assessment. We need to look at our stormwater problems. We need to diversify our power grid. There are many, many things we need to do. So leadership really matters. And I feel that I, Patricia Getz, am the leader that Hudson Ward 1 needs. So please vote for me on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Getz. Now we will have an opportunity for members and guests to ask questions. Again, please come down to the central mic to ask your question, and we will give each candidate an opportunity to respond to a question. They will each have 2 minutes for their responses. Thank you.
You know, this may relate a little bit more to Todd, because I think, Patricia, you addressed the issue of services for seniors as well as the climate action plan need for that within our community. Todd, do you have a position on those two particular things, or could you tell us maybe some of this related to the seniors, and the other question too relates to the comprehensive plan? I'm not sure. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
The irony that we're talking about senior resources while meeting in a senior home center with our resources is interesting. We live in a capitalist society, and we cannot demand that developers build things that they don't think they can make a profit on. And time again, you hear seniors saying we want senior housing. And time again, you see developers saying there's 10 acres of land, I'd like to build $10 million homes. So there's very little we can do. Now, one thing I have proposed is that we build into the building codes that if you're going to build $10 million homes, 3 of them have to have a first floor master and 0 height entry. In that way, we're simply controlling what developers want to do on their own. Environmental concerns are, of course, important. The impact that a small 5 square mile community can have on global environmental concerns is perhaps somewhat limited, but any effort in that regard is certainly a good one.
I don't know if any of you have watched Heidi Schweighofer's films, and she has one, it's called North of 60, and has an interview with the mayor from Macedonia. I would recommend that you watch that, because Macedonia right now is considered been in the top 4 senior centers in the country, and that's just a few miles away. and they have tremendous services that they are offering, and that we're a different kind of community, but there are many things that we could start looking at. We do have a bottom of the city hall. It's being used now for seniors, but it could be used every day. But to do that, you need to have some part-time staff to help run it. But that would be kind of a first step. Currently, they're being leased and told that they only have a total of 3 years to stay there. I think we need to reverse that and to start providing what we need for our seniors. I agree with Todd. We don't want a lot of development in Hudson because of the environmental issues, but I think we could do some targeted development, as I said, for the seniors to have empty nester housing.
Sorry, Tom. we have to fight over the height here. This is a question for both of you. A comprehensive plan is a strategic document that guides to the future. What is and it's always developed, if it's going to work, with a vision. So what is the vision of the comprehensive plan so far? And it's been very difficult for the public to locate this, because until this week, there's been no minutes, and I was glad to see that, but I couldn't figure out what the direction really is.
Well, because I'm not on that committee, I have no idea what the vision is. I heard Mr. Zizek say that we want to have what people value in our town. I know people value the historic nature of our town. They value the walkability. They value the sense of community that we all have. But in terms of specifics, in terms of housing, in terms of other issues, I'm not privy to that, so I can't really answer that question. So I will give it to Mr.
Thank you.
Zizek.
That's why
So I'm very disappointed that the resources that are on the city website are inadequate. Of course, I'm involved, so I know what's going on, at least theoretically. So if you'll give me your card, I'll try to get you redirected to at least the place where everything is. And if that's still inadequate, we can, speak about it.
But what I'm hearing, tell me if I'm wrong, you can't, as a member of the steering committee right now, you can't frame what the goal is, where we want to be in 10 years. So that as a plan works out.
I'll try to restate it perhaps more eloquently. The goal of our version of a city plan is to say, here's what we have determined the citizens collectively value. And we are going to put projects and development and energy around making sure that whatever we do in town supports and buttresses those values. For instance, there's a big effort to do connectivity and fix the sidewalks. If the questioner sort of nodded her head, is that you don't believe that's true, or?
No, I think it's a done deed. I'm talking about the future.
Oh, okay. Well, using that by way of example, if I might, why did we spend money on sidewalks instead of better boat access at the park? Who decided what to do and why was that decided? And so I can't say to you, we're going to put every dollar we have into park encouragement. We're going to work on projects as they become available and reveal themselves. And what gets chosen to be done will be based on what people value, why they live here, why it's important. And I'm sorry, that doesn't seem to be adequate. I apologize.
There's a question in the chat from James Squires. If I may, Mr. Zidak, do you support greenhouse gas inventory?
What? I didn't understand the question. Sure. I mean, I don't know what a greenhouse gas inventory for our city would look like or what might be done with the results, but certainly seems like a not unreasonable thing, assuming it's not hugely expensive and complicated.
Well, I support it because it gives us a baseline for where we stand in Hudson. We don't know if we have a good environment or bad environment. So that gets us started. Through ICLEI, it can cost maybe $6,000. And it should be a city generated document because the city needs to look at what the city can do with city services, with the power grid, and then to help incorporate it into a climate action plan, which many parts of it would be voluntary for our citizens. No one would be forced to have an electric vehicle. Nobody would be forced to have solar panels, but it would educate people and help us look at what do we need to do. One of the biggest things I've heard voters talk about is their concerns about the stormwater runoff, that especially this year, their yards have been just swimming pools. And so I know the city's been working on that, but we need to work more diligently on that and look at how we can handle this problem.
Okay. Dr. Getz, Mr. Zidak, thank you very much for your time and for being here with us today. Mr. Zidak, you were talking about the comprehensive plan and talking about values and so forth, and the values that people have that bring them to Hudson and keep them in Hudson. This question is for both of you. What is your biggest value that you have as being a member of this community? What do you value most? And based upon that, what is the one key difference that you think that you can provide to make a positive impact if you're elected to city council?
To me, the biggest value of this community are the people. And as a council person, it would be, how can I communicate with the people of Hudson? Doing that by having town halls, by having perhaps a blog, by being on social media, by going to events in the city, being volunteer work. I recently started with the library, with the Friends of the Library, to get to know more people and again, to provide more service to the city. I think that, again, it's the citizens that make this community what it is, and that we need to reach out to them, and I would do that as a member of city council.
Thanks, Keith. So what I value about living here, where I take people when they come to visit, why I always came back and call this my home, is not really important. I'm happy to share, but what I value is not important. What we collectively value is what's important. And that's why we conducted a statistically valid survey, and we had a general public survey so we could ascertain and weight rank, what do the general people think? For me, personally, the number one thing for me is the downtown area. Maintaining and burnishing the downtown area. That's our crown jewel, as far as I'm concerned. And so what goes into the phase 2 land, assuming it's not to remain a prairie, which might be okay. What needs to go there is not what a developer wants. What needs to go there is what will do the most to make the downtown the best. And I can guarantee you, developers will protect their bottom line. That is what they'll do, which is okay, good for them. But that's not what's best for us. So would a lovely senior center make a great addition to that area? Sure, maybe. Would the town hall being located in that spot have been a nice thing to do? Certainly. But that needs to be the measure of what gets done there. And I intend to make sure that the will of the people, as expressed by what they value, is protected and burnished as we move forward.
Thank you both this morning for being here. I've lived in Hudson for almost 14 years now. And what I've noticed in the last, I would say 5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years, something like that, is, I don't know how to put it, an adversarial, hostile spirit among the leadership of the council. It seems like that there are, it's much more of a partisan and, adversarial, even sometimes hostile kind of environment. Not just that, I mean, it's happened in other offices in the city. So my question to you is, do you see that as well as I do? And what would you do to make things different?
Thank you. I have absolutely seen it. It's horrifying. And I believe that the basis of it is the extreme partisanship that exists in our country nationwide. I have hosted forums on political civility. I am an independent. I am not a member of a political party and never have been. Of course, I have my political views. Everybody certainly may, but they have no role in my mind in city politics. And when Patricia and I both ran for the open seats, there were 3 open seats. Do you know how many Republicans ran? 3. Do you know how many Democrats ran? 3. There are 4 open seats now. Do you know how many Democrats are running? 4. There happen to be exactly the same number of Democrats running as there are open seats. Entirely possible that that's just a random event. But wouldn't it seem almost to strain the bounds of credulity that there wouldn't have been 2 Democrats in Ward 1 who were interested in serving? Or 3? Or 2 Republicans? I am not taking any PAC money. I'm not participating in any PAC activity. I'm not participating in any collusion or coordination with any other candidate. I'm running for Ward 1 because I care about this city. And I believe that is the basis for the rancor that you see on council. You have people who are partisan, who run as partisan, and act as partisan. And that's the voter's job to not support that kind of activity.
It is difficult today with how things are politically. I can tell you, I've spent my career as a child psychiatrist working with difficult children and difficult families. And so I have the skills to try to compromise, try to speak in a way that's very polite and respectful. And that those skills I will bring to the city council. I also was recently trained to be a facilitator by the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program. And in that, you learn how to try to get different sides to talk with each other and come up with a plan. That's what we need to do. Hudson used to be a city where it didn't matter what if you were Republican or Democrat when you were on city council. And in the past 4 or so years, that has gone away. So I'm hopeful that perhaps it can be different this time. I am running as a nonpartisan, as I did when I ran for council at large. And I will try my very best to be respectful and collaborative with anybody that I work with on city council.
Thank you both for your time today. Before I ask my question, I just want to clarify that actually in 21, 8 people ran, and 5 of them were actually registered Democrats and 3 of them were registered Republicans. So just a quick clarification there. Could you each tell me what you think the biggest success and the biggest failure is of this current city council in the projects that they have looked at in the past 2 years? Thank you.
Well, I would say it seems one of the biggest successes that has been happening is expanding the sidewalks and expanding the bike trails. They've especially been working with the railroad, which has been very difficult to work with, but they have made, we're going to have that happen. The other successes is that they continue to support events in the city and have supported the parks. However, one of the downsides now is that we still have that vacant land. And as Todd said, it's vacant. It's a huge expense, and they need to come up with something about that, and nothing has been done about that. I think the other difficulty, sadly, is the amount of difficulties in having civil discourse among the council members. And I hope that that will change.
I think there's been a number of sort of behind the scenes city council actions. And when I say behind the scenes, what I mean is there have been millions of dollars of grant money that's been applied for water reclamation projects and flood control, and the bike path efforts are wonderful. Sidewalk expansion has been wonderful. The connectivity plan has been great. So there's been wonderful progress on those fronts. I think the continued rancor is terrible. It's distracting and it's not helpful. And I still firmly believe that that's rooted in partisan party politics. And if that were to be reduced, minimized, I think things would go much more smoothly at the top. And that's what I hope to bring to the table.
Thanks again for coming, both of you. Quick question though, on the comprehensive plan, which to follow up on Mimi's question a little bit, is there a recap or a results so far that can be found online? We just Google comprehensive plan on our website and find that?
So again, I have to apologize because I'm in it. I'm not trying to consume what's available out there.
Okay.
The results of all the surveys have been, and when I say results, the raw data has of course been collected because that's just how many people said this and that.
Right.
The interpretation is critical. And as a member of the committee, we have not collectively said, here are the conclusions that we have reached based on this data. So I believe you can go to the website and you can find the raw data.
Okay.
And by way of example, how many people voted one thing first, another thing second, another thing third, and you add all those numbers up? I mean, I'm not a statistician, but it gets kind of complicated. I can tell you that one of the top things that people valued most about being here was safety, which I was shocked about because I don't even think about it. And maybe that's because it's really good, right? But back to our values, if what people value is their sense of safety that's being provided for them, well, then as we have budget discussions, we need to say, you mean the police department needs better radios? Why are we even talking about it? It plugs right into the value of safety, which we want to burnish and support. And so that's the nature of those discussions. So again, if you'll see me afterwards, I'm happy to shepherd you through getting whatever data you would like to get, but there certainly should be data available.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish to commend the the Planning Commission, I attended the workshop that you had at the high school, and a number of people did to get input. I also got the survey, which I filled in. But what I want to point out is on some other issues, our city council president and several of the members have said that data can be false. And they were talking about that in terms of a greenhouse gas emissions and getting data from that. So I am confused about whether your data is going to be sound. I hope it will be, because I do believe in data, but it does seem kind of hypocritical that on one hand, some of the movers and shakers in the city council say data doesn't count, and then other times they say data does count.
No last question? No, the moderator does not get to ask a question. Okay. Again, Dr. Getz, Mr. Zidak, thank you so much for joining us. Please let's give them a round of applause and appreciation.
If one of you would remain up here for Tricia, want to pull the, thank you very much, both of you. I value, one of the things I value is our ability to meet our public representatives, to be and hear from them and be able to have a civil discourse and explore what we hope our city can remain or aspire to be. Okay, we have $10, I'm sorry, $8 in the raffle today, 108 in the jackpot, because the jackpot was won last week, as you all recall. Okay. Okay, the winning raffle ticket is 923996. Okay. George. Here, you want to maybe take that down and maybe give that to him? Oh, well, he's got to come up and. Here. We'll meet you halfway here. Okay, we have all the marbles are back in the, thank you. All the marbles are back in the can. There's a black one. Okay. That's the wrong color. Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay. Next week, we'll continue meeting more of our potential representatives, and we look forward to that. So everyone go out there and have a good day.